Good afternoon. It is my honor to be here, and especially it's a great opportunity to learn about this field. As I just have been introduced, that I'm not an expert on this issue, even though I'm I'm studying about the North Korea, and definitely the cyber area is one of the most important areas lately. So I do have some interest of this field. By the way, today we have session 3, that is conflict and cooperation in cybersecurity. We have 90 minutes, and it means that we don't have enough time. We have 3 presenters and also 3 designated discussants. So I think I can give you the 15 minutes each for the presentation and the 7 minutes for the designated discussant. I heard that the organizers, they are preparing some kind of signpost. So they are giving sign that 3 minutes left and 1 minute left, and then ask you, oh, here you go, and ask you to finish up your presentation or discuss it. Okay, and I'd like, first we are going to have a presentation and designate discussant, and then if we have time, I'd like to open to the floor and to get some questions among the many participants here. Okay, without any further delay, I'd like to ask Professor Motohiro Tsuchiya from the Keio University to make a presentation about the Japan's response to cyber threat in East Asia. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much for a kind introduction. So I'm Motohiro Tsuchiya from Keio University in Japan, but actually I came from Busan today. So I spent 2 nights in Busan and had a wonderful food and getting fatter and fatter. So thank you very much for wonderful Korean culture. So I want to talk about Japan's response to cyber threats. I'm not a North Korean expert, but I'm following cyber issues these days. Oh, no. So just 30 years ago, the internet was something like this. So I hope you remember the mosaic for a browser. So it was gray things. But so I'm always saying, so 3D is happening. 3D means that so deeper, darker, and dirtier. So cyberspace is becoming 3D and 3D these days. So July 2009, there was a massive cyber DDoS attack against United States and South Korea. So it was a big shock for me. And so Korea is a neighbor of Japan, so we might get something similar against our critical infrastructures. But it was just the beginning of the cyber issues at that time. And March 11th, 2011, it was a big day for Japanese people. So everybody knows where they were on this day. So there was a massive earthquakes and tsunamis. So a lot of lives were lost on that day and after. And so this is a photo of my mother's hometown in Fukushima. So my mother passed away many years ago, so she was not affected, but my family, so my mother's family, so relatives were affected. So it was my personal issue for the earthquake and tsunami. So, but I want to thank the Korean people. You helped us very much. But we found that very bad guys in the world after this. Just 20 days later, we found that cyber attacks happened, broke out against Japanese government. So the government officials found that email titled yesterday's radiation level. We were worrying about Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant at that time. So radiation is all over there. So it was quite natural for the government official to open up attachment of the email. But it was customized virus was included. What means customized? So the attacker checked every antivirus software. So they found that their virus was not detected at that time. And the government official opened the attachment, and so a lot of information was stolen from the government server by remote. It was a big shock for us. And 6 months after that, September 2011, so we found that Mitsubishi Heavy Industries was hacked. So Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, MHI, is the largest military contractor in Japan. So a lot of the military technology might be stolen. And so we have a joint project with the United States military contractors. So American technology might be stolen too. It was a big shock for us. It's a big scandal in Japanese society. And December 2014, it's connected to the North Korea. So there was a movie titled The Interview. So it was not viewed in Japan, but so there are some viewers in the United States. And so the North Korea was very angry with that. So Sony Pictures employees went to office and turned up the computers. They found this picture on their screen. It was hacked, and so a lot of information was stolen from the Sony Pictures servers. In May 2015, we found another incident in Japan. So Japan Pension Service was hacked. As Korea, so Japan is an aging society, so older people have more political power. So they were very angry. Where's my pension money? So money was not stolen, but just records were stolen. But it was a big, big scandal again in Japanese society. And so we found that more than 1,000 organizations, companies, government, and so universities were hacked at the same time. So the huge, massive scale of cyber attacks were coming to Japan at that time. And March 2017, so the New York Times reported that so North Korea was hacked by the US Cyber Command to disrupt their missile launches. I don't know if this is real or not, but it's kind of a Hollywood movie thing. So the North Korea might be disrupted by cyber attacks to test their missiles. What we are doing in Japan. So 2018, Prime Minister Abe at the time made a speech at the National Defense Academy. He said, I cannot see it. So nowadays having an advantage in new areas such as cyberspace and outer space is of vital importance. So it was the first statement of the political leaders. We must do something in cybersecurity in military area. Before that, we tried to defend our private sectors and government ministries. We are just defending our systems. But the Prime Minister Abe says, we have to do something more in cyberspace and outer space. It was the topic of the cross-domain warfare. So we are not fighting on the ground, in the sky, or on the sea only. So the domains are connected each other. So cyberspace is covering everything. So we have to think about the importance of cyberspace. We are dependent on cyberspace. That's why we have to defend cyberspace too. Then we published the National Defense Program Guidelines in December 2018. It says, if somebody attacks Japan, critical infrastructures might be affected. After that, we can do counter-strike in cyberspace. It's stupid for you, but we stick to the defense-oriented policy for many decades. We do not start a war at all. So, but in cyberspace, if somebody attacks, what can we do? So we didn't know. So we were just made it clear. So we can do counter-strike in cyberspace. That's one step further in Japanese policy. After that, so Prime Minister Kishida came in, and he said he wants to revise the national security strategy, national defense program guidelines, and midterm defense program. So we call 3 documents for defense policy. And it was the first, the 2018 National Defense Program Guidelines would be renewed in 10 years. But he didn't say, so 10 years is enough. So he said, we want to revise it in 5 years. So the situation is changing in the world. That's why we need to reshape our defense policies. And after that, after his speech, so we saw the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It was a big shock for us. Then we realized cyberspace, cyber defense, cybersecurity is a very, very big issue in the defense of our country. And then we had a national security strategy just 1 year ago. And in this strategy, we made a new term. It's not a new term actually, but we are calling cybersecurity in previous documents. But we said cyber 안전보장. It means cyber national security. In the English documents, the same term actually, but in Japanese language it's very different. So we are stressing national security more. So it's one step further again. And it says the response capabilities in the field of cybersecurity should be strengthened, equal or surpassing the level of leading Western countries. I was so shocked with these words. Are you really sure we can go surpass the United States, United Kingdom, Israel? Impossible. That's my first response. I asked one of the political leaders, are you really sure we can surpass the United States? He said, oh, no, maybe it's not good to say, but so we should make a higher goal. That's it. So, but we are struggling to raise our capabilities. The key term is active cyber defense. So this term is everywhere in Japanese cyberspace policy these days. And what does it mean? So Japan will introduce active cyber defense for eliminating in advance the possibility of serious cyber attacks. In advance. What does it mean? So the United States has a defend forward policy. So they are trying to stop cyber attacks before something happens. So they are penetrating into enemies' networks in the peacetime. So they are watching you. They are watching them. Then if somebody starts cyber attacks against the United States, they will stop in their location. Nothing happens. That is active cyber defense in the United States. Can we do that in Japan? It's quite difficult because we have the constitution, we have the telecommunication business law, those kind of things prohibiting do something in peacetime. In the emergencies, we can do counter-strike, but in peacetime, what can we do? That's a big discussion now. So the government is trying to organize an expert group summer this year, but they failed. They couldn't organize an expert group. I hope we can do it next year, but we are not sure. It's a big, big discussion. And they have to reorganize the government agency too. We call it NISC, NISC. I hope we can do it, but we don't know. Then, so if we have higher capabilities, we will have the multi-layered international cooperation. One is Japan and the United States. And second one is Quad. And so we will have India, Australia, and the United States. And of course, we want to have a good relationship with Republic of Korea. So Japan, ROK, and United States Cyber Consultative Body has just started. We want to cooperate with you. And so Japan-NATO cyber dialogue is also happening. So we want to enlarge our scope and we want to have higher capabilities to defend us from the malicious attack from the North Korea, China, Russia, and other malicious actors. So are we really bad in cybersecurity? So we have good evidences. We survived G20 Osaka Summit in 2019, and we had a World Cup rugby in 2019, and we also had Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and we had also G7 Hiroshima Summit this year. We survived these mega events in cyberspace and the physical space. I hope we can defend our country and the world from the malicious people. This is my last slide. So Japan's response to cyber threats. So first one is improving Japan's cybersecurity. This is the urgent policy agenda these days. Second one, so active cyber defense, how we can have it. So we want to learn from the Korean government too, and the US government, other governments too. And so finally, we have multi-layered international partnership. This is key for us, and so we want to share our intelligence and information and data to defend ourselves. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Professor Tsuchiya. And next, I'd like to invite Dr. Kim So-Jeong from the Institute for National Security Strategy, and she's going to make a presentation about the malicious cyber threat from DPRK, implication for ROK. So you're sitting there, okay? Not come to the podium. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Park. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm So-Jeong Kim from Institute for the National Security Strategy. I've been involved in this field like more than 20 years, and it's great to see you again, Professor Tsuchiya, in like 2 or 3 years. So I want to talk about the malicious cyber threat from DPRK, and I will definitely talk about the implications for ROK. And maybe I will not gonna talk about the what we've been through for more than 20 years in Korea and what we are trying to revise through our national cybersecurity strategy, which was published in 2019, and it is under reviewing right now. And we are also definitely talking about the active cyber defenses. So maybe it is a little bit different from the concept of U.S. defense forward or hunt forward operations, but still Korea also talk about the active cyber defenses these days. So I will not going to talk about that one, but I will more focused on the how we are doing in multi-layered international partnership perspectives. So what can be done in cyber diplomacy perspectives, concepts. So let me start. The North Korean's emergence as a cyber threat stems from its strategic use of cyber operations to generate funds and evade sanctions and advance its political goals. The nation has invested heavily in building a sophisticated cyber warfare capabilities, and several key characteristics makes its cyber activities particularly dangerous. So North Korean cyber operations are orchestrated and supported by the state. It is known that Reconnaissance General Bureau oversees these activities, utilizing specialized units like Bureau 121 and state-sponsored hacker group like Lazarus Group. So these characteristics distinguishes it slightly from other countries a little bit different way. So with international sanctions limiting its access to global financial systems, North Korea turned to cybercrime to obtain funds. So they have engaged in various cyber activities like hacking banks, cryptocurrency theft, and conducting ransomware attacks to generate revenues estimated in billions. So North Korean hackers exhibit advanced capabilities, utilizing techniques like spear phishing and malware deployment and social engineering to infiltrate targets. So APT groups are known for their persistence, advanced techniques, and targeting of critical infrastructures, government and financial institutions, and cryptocurrency exchanges. Thus, the North Korea's cyber activities have caused significant economic damages globally. So recently, North Korean cyber operations transcend borders, posing a threat to institutions and individuals worldwide. Their ability to conduct operations from remote locations allow them to remain elusive and difficult to track. The combination of state support and advanced technical expertise and financial motivations and global reach makes North Korea's cyber threat particularly dangerous. Their activities not only target financial systems, but also pose a broader risk to international security, stability, and critical infrastructures. Moreover, the shift toward the cryptocurrency-enabled crime has provided them with a decentralized means to finance their agendas while evading traditional financial restrictions and monitorings. So concerns have arisen also regarding the emergence of a new political alignment and potential escalation of competitions, as North Korea demonstrates a close alignment with countries such as Russia, Iran, and China. So North Korea supported Russia during the Russian-Ukraine war, while concurrently hacking into a Russian missile development firms. Also, North Korean IT workers have spied from UAE and Russia's. So various threats, including the securing of technological competitiveness through intellectual property theft and influence operations capable of inducing societal unrest and are being observed. So I will not going to talk about the Korean policies and institutions, and I will talk more about in general, how we responded with the concept of international cooperations. So overall, the South Korea's cyber diplomacy has been strongly driven by the broader national interest caused by its relations with the DPRK. So the bilateral cyber dialogue with the US is the most important one, given the South Korea's dependence on US security guarantees, the US stakes in the stability of the Korean Peninsula, and the high sophistication of US cyber capacities. The United States tracks cryptocurrencies to prevent North Korea's theft and unlawful use, employing measures such as prosecutions and criminal justice cooperations, including asset seizures. Additionally, actions encompass travel bans and asset freezes and trade restrictions, cessations of development aid and security support, and arms export prohibitions, financial transaction bans, and diplomatic measures like protest, condemnations, and pursuing international organization sanctions, diplomatic explosions, or embassy closures. To facilitate this, the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act was enacted, and also the Executive Order 13694 and 13757 designated malicious cyber activities as a national emergency and authorizes sanctions, while Executive Order 13722 specifically outlines comprehensive prohibitions and sanctions on dealing with the North Korean government. Following these laws and executive orders, the U.S. Department of the Treasury consistently announces sanctions measured to thwart North Korea's theft of virtual assets. The Office of Foreign Asset Control within the Treasury has been prohibited the use of a Tornado Cash last year, which is a cryptocurrency mixing service. And individuals violating the U.S. government's ban on travel to North Korea and engaging in cryptocurrency-related academic conferences in North Korea, or providing cryptocurrency-related knowledge to help North Korea circumvent sanctions, have faced the imprisonment sentences imposed by the U.S. government. So following the 2022nd RK-US Summit, which will address the North Korea's malicious cyber activities for the first time, both nations made substantial commitment to counter North Korea's illicit gains from its foreign IT personnel and to prevent sanctions evasion through cryptocurrency theft. They prevent North Korea acquiring resources necessary for its nuclear and missile programs. This resulted in a joint government advisory by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Intelligence Services on December 8, 2022, urging domestic companies to exercise prudence and enhance identity verifications measures when engaging IT personnel who may conceal their North Korean nationality and identities. Concurrently, North Korean individuals 7 entities have been singled out as the initial independent sanction targets in the realm of cyber activities. South Korea and the United States have jointly designated a North Korean national as sanction target due to their involvement in North Korea's financing of weapons of mass destructions and through illegal cyber activities. The 22nd RK-US Summit brought a further deepening of a cooperation in cybersecurity, leading to the declaration of a strategic cybersecurity cooperation framework in 2023. This framework confirms the principles articulated during the 22nd RK-US Summit, underscoring the significance of cybersecurity as a national policy and strategic priorities. So its primary objective is to advance an open and collaborative approach aimed at ensuring the security and integrity of the internet and cyberspace. So building upon these initiatives, the 23 Strategic Cybersecurity Cooperation Framework distinguishes itself by its commitment to enhancing cooperations across technology, policy, and strategic domains while fostering trust. It articulates South Korea's positions within the competitive landscape. Ensuring the execution of follow-up action is imperative to consolidate the achievement of this framework. 23 Trilateral Summit in Camp David in August committed the three to plan to coordinate regional capacity building efforts to ASEAN and Pacific Island countries to ensure that they are mutually reinforcing and maximally beneficial to our valued partners, including through capacity building efforts in cybersecurity and financial integrity and our new trilateral maritime security cooperation framework. So the ROK, US, and Japan, all three countries have their own Indo-Pacific strategies, and the three Indo-Pacific strategies talked about the cybersecurity capacity buildings. And in addition to that, the three countries expressed the concerns regarding the DPRK's illicit cyber activities that funds its unlawful WMD and ballistic missile program. So we announced the establishment of the new trilateral working group to drive our cooperations, including with the international community, to combat DPRK cyber threat and block its cyber-enabled sanctions evasions. So inaugural meeting of the trilateral working group among the United States, Japan, and South Korea on countering North Korean cyber threats took place in Tokyo in last July. So representatives from three nations evaluated the collaborative achievement in curbing illegal cyber activities, identified as primary funding sources for North Korea's major nuclear and missile development. They anticipated that the formation of this working group would further strengthen the coordination among the diplomatic authorities of the three countries. And the last part is about the implications for RK and the future efforts. So through the Russian-Ukraine and the Israel-Hamas wars, the potentials for non-state actors to engage in cyber warfare has emerged, with the cashing out of stolen virtual assets taking place in friendly Northern Korean countries such as China and Russia. Given these factors, considerable imagination is required to anticipate how North Korea will persist in its attacks moving forward. As a new business models, North Korea's potential to conduct hacking operations, not only causing financial damages, but also engaging in activities such as espionage and proxy warfare remains high. Experts from diverse fields need to convene to develop predictions and scenarios for North Korea's next threatening activities. It's imperative to devise corresponding strategies and contemplate educational and training programs tailored to respond effectively to these threats. So this necessitates collaborations between private sectors and international partners. The governments worldwide should collaborate and coordinate efforts to track and counter North Korean cyber operations. Establishing joint task forces or coalitions dedicated to addressing these threats could enhance global responses. So in this regard, our 2-year-long efforts from both South Korea and the US to have a joint cyber working group on IT personnel and cryptocurrency heist has been successful. Engaging in diplomatic dialogue and applying diplomatic pressure on North Korea can encourage the nation to adhere to international norms in cyberspaces. The international community should consider rigorously enforcing targeted sanctions on North Korean entities engaged in cybercrime and cryptocurrency theft. This will restrict their access to global financial systems and hinder their illicit activities. The shift of cash conversions points to areas untouched by the traditional financial sector, causes another restrictions on their approaches now. So providing support to countries with least developed cybersecurity infrastructures can strengthen their resiliences against North Korean cyber threats. So this could involve sharing expertise, providing technical assistance, and enhancing cybersecurity capabilities. South Korea recognized the global remit of cyber and is therefore working with the World Bank or Inter-American Development Banks. The enhancement of South Korea's cyber capabilities not only serves to fortify the capability in tangible sense, but also aligns with the country's security objectives. Least developed and developing nations in Southern Asia have actively sought Korea's expertise in various facets, including policy formations, legal framework development, and training and capacity buildings. So these countries are eager to leverage Korea's extensive experience and knowledge sharing by extending support for cyber capacity building through avenues like development cooperations or official development assistance programs. South Korea can make a meaningful contribution to raising the nation's cybersecurity standards. Focusing efforts on capacity building activities are targeted in Southern Asian countries and other nations where North Korea exploits IT infrastructures and deploys personnel is likely to yield a particularly effective result for both sides. And finally, the collaboration between the private sectors and the international community is pivotal in mitigating North Korea's cyber activities. By combining efforts, sharing information, enforcing regulations, and applying the diplomatic pressures, there is a greater chance of reducing the success of North Korean cyber crimes and deterring their malicious activities. I'm done here.
Thank you, Dr. Kim So-jung. And next, Professor Minwoo from Gachon University, and he's going to talk about the future of cyber warfare and emphasis on cyber cognitive warfare. Please.
Today I'm going to talk about future of cyber warfare, especially emphasizing cyber cognitive warfare. Many people are wondering in the upcoming election in this country, there might be or might not be foreign information interference or influence operation against or targeting against our general election. Or if someone asks me, I would say there might be strong evidence they might do it because for this entire year, year 2023, I was doing research on these issues, and this, thanks God, in this year is about to end, and I'm now wrapping up my research. Then I found some evidences on foreign commenter armies operating in our internet. Because of this, confidentiality, I cannot talk about. I cannot talk about it, but I just want to say there is some activities going on. So, while in today's world, the human beings, human brain, it can be hackable. When we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about hacking computer systems, information structures, and all these physical entities. But and just like computers, human brains can be hackable. But the method is different. The humans have emotions, pride, or frustration, and jealousy. All these are our emotions. Emotions can be used as a backdoor to infiltrate into human brain and manipulate. Okay. As the technology advances on, the human beings will have more and more the method to control human brains, such as neuroscience or the brain and computer interface and intervention of brain waves. Then a lot of different methods. The countries overseas, they are doing research on this advanced technologies, and they develop military tactics and strategies. So today we talk about the global hegemonic competitions between countries and countries. So nowadays, these cyber cognitive operations is used as method to change the games and win the game of this hegemonic competition. There is a possible, because when we go back to Clausewitz defines war is enforcing one's will against the other. The physical violence has been used to enforce our will against the other by killing them or threatening to kill them. But if theoretically we just change the other's brain, way of thinking, we don't have to use physical violence. So that is possible. It doesn't matter you define that as war or not. No. The bottom line is we can change the other's wills and thinkings. So that is the importance of this cyber cognitive warfare. And now it's possible. So the countries, especially major countries, they now use this method for their the games, winning their games. And Xi Jinping once emphasized cyber domain is strategic domains. And culture and influence operation can be major weapons. If we really look at Chinese strategic support force, their domain of warfare is space war and cyber war and cognitive war and electronic war, and combining together. So it's a strategic domains. So basically, and there is intersection of cyber warfare, including cyber cognitive warfare and geopolitics of not only Northeast Asia, but also the globe. Then there is advancement of cyber warfare, and we are observing more and more this cyber technological warfare, such as hackings and DDoS and all these using malicious code, are more and more integrated with cyber influence operations or psychological warfare. You name it. So Russia used this tactic, specific tactic is called hack and leak. They're hacking sensitive information and then leaking this sensitive information into the public, try to change the opinions and sentiment of the public. So it's strategically and tactically combined, technological method and influence operation altogether. So more and more we are looking at these integrative measures. So today when we talk about cyber warfare, we have to see the two different things at the same time: cyber technological warfare and cyber psychological warfare or cognitive warfare, you name it. So it's now we have to change the measures. We have to adopt more integrative approaches. It's the same when we work with other countries, our alliance as well. So cyber warfare in South Korea today, and we have upcoming elections, but also we have how public thinks and things. So we may consider, and China and North Korea may have strong interest to infiltrating the public's cognitive domains and changing their opinions and cultures, and also try to infiltrate our election system. So the US and they define election system is one of these critical infrastructure, just like the power plant, transportation system, and etc. So I think their approach is right, and we have to consider our election system is one of these critical infrastructure. So we need to protect this, both electronically and technically, and also cognitively as well. So next thing I like to address is there is a strategic goals and tactical principles. Just like we can identify techniques and tactics and procedures for cyber technological warfare, such as hackings and DDoS and ransomware attacks. We can identify tactics, techniques, and procedures for cyber cognitive warfare. I'm working on it, and I specify strategies and tactical measures and steps of operations. So influence operation is not just an individual isolated event. It's all related and it's all integrated. So there is a certain rules of steps. So it's very shredly operated. So we can identify TTPs and we can prepare for them. That's what I found. So future of cyber warfare in Northeast Asia. So what do we expect more? Well, and this kind of situation will be normal. I would say new normal. And so actually China and Russia, they see the war and peace is not definitely divided time frames. They see war and peace as a spectrum, continuous spectrum. So they don't clearly distinguish. So it's a gray area. War and peace is intermingled and existing at the same time. So cyber warfare, cyber cognitive operations is more like this. With or without conventional war, this thing goes on. It will be threat. Just like Russia, before they invaded Ukraine, they attacked Ukraine with cyber measures. And they initiated the 2022 Ukrainian invasion. In this time of war, they also used cyber measures. So cyber measures can be used both war times and peace times. So we have to change our perceptions. In the future, there is no clear distinction between peace and war. So it's a combined gray area. So basically, the cyber operations, we have to prepare. So I would name warlike peace or peaceful warfare. So it's a coexistence. So nowadays, SNS is like used in military units. SNS account is weapons, and media is also weapons, and they are armies. But in the future, we're going to see more and more drastic the phenomenon using new advanced technologies. So brain science and cyber technology, engineering robots, and IoTs will be all combined. This is a serious issue. Without real war, we can be invaded and we can be conquered. So we need to prepare for this. And we need to emphasize on this new type of warfare. And thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yoon. Next, we have three, of course, excellent discussions, and each will have 7 minutes. And start with Professor Yu In-tae from Dankuk University.
Hi, I'm Inte Yu from Dang University. And first of all, I would like to thank President Sonyeol for inviting me here in this a wonderful opportunity, and also giving me this. I'm much pleased to have this role as a discussant at this panel, filled with lots of interesting, insightful papers and also presentations. My role here for today is especially discussing what Professor Tsuchiya on his paper about Japan's new cybersecurity strategy trend or orientation. While reading the paper, I have much enjoyed his writing partly because I've been also working on cyber deterrence and cyber operations in various countries, mostly US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada's cybersecurity operations. And also, I'm also deeply concerned and interested in how South Korea would develop its own cyber operations and cyber deterrence strategy. And I was pleased to hear that Japan is a step ahead. I think giving a little bit of push to maybe South Koreans' relevant audiences. But as Jeong mentioned, that South Korean policymakers are also working on that topic as well. So sooner or later, we will see some kind of outcome. I figure my role is more beneficial or fruitful if I ask more questions rather than commenting on your field, because you're Japanese specialist and cybersecurity specialist much more than anybody here, I would guess. My first question, and hopefully I get all the answers to all the questions, given the limited time. My first question is, which country is the gravest threat to Japan, especially in terms of cyberspace, in cyberspace? I bet, this question sounds like a no-brainer, but, China or either North Korea, right? But it's important to figure out and specify which country is more graver, okay? Threatening to Japan, because it might determine or it might characterize the way in which Japanese policymakers would form or formulate cyber operations or cyber deterrence strategy. So because the ways in which Japan would address cyber threats will determine how to develop cyber capabilities. Because now Japan is trying to go beyond just defense position, right? It's going for offensive capabilities, if I figure it right. Japan still use active defense, although I think that this is more closer to offensive capabilities and offensive operations. So you also mentioned in the paper that Japanese foreign policymakers can refer to hunt forward the concept proposed by the U.S. and DoD, right? So which is more offensive rather than defensive. So, but in order to develop offensive capabilities, you have to be very careful in what capability would you like to develop, because first of all, it takes money. It takes a lot of money and time, and in other words, resources. And defending cyberspace itself, it costs a lot of money. And then your country is going to add offensive character to your cybersecurity strategy. But as Professor Minwoo mentioned, the ways of cyber offenses are very, very diverse, right? Information operations, or just simply disruption or network disruptions, things like that. So it all depends on which country do you think is most threatening, right? So if Japan feels North Korea is more threatening, then Japan would not have much to do, because North Korea society is not much wired, right? Then what kind of cyber offense capabilities are you talking about? If it is China that Japan is targeting at, then what kind of aspect do you like to use or leverage to influence China, right? To prevent China from what kind of things, right? So that's first question. Another question is about public-private relationship. You said that in the one of the starking or the shocking changes that happened in December 2020 National Security Strategy is that the terminological changes, right? Japan used to say cyber security, but now it used cyber national security. What do you mean? What do you make of that change, right? So, do you think that Japan is ready to sort of override socio-economic interests in the interest of national security interests? Do you think when these two interests collide, the national security interests would overwhelm? So that's one thing. So, and then what kind of sort of public-private coordination mechanism do you imagine to happen? Right? Do you think something like CISA in the U.S. would happen in Japan, or what kind of again coordination mechanism would be there in Japan in the near future? Lastly, because you're presenting in South Korea, I cannot but be asking this question. So, what kind of international cooperation with South Korea do you think proper, especially as Japan is moving toward now a new aspect of cybersecurity, cyber capabilities, right? So Japan is trying to upgrade or develop cyber offensive cyber capabilities. Now, what kind of cyber activities do you think Japan could or would like to cooperate with South Korea? Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Professor Yu. And next, Dr. Park Yong-kan from the Korea Institute for Defense Analysis. So you also have 7 minutes.
먼저 김소정 박사님께서 그 최근에 북한 사이버 위협에 관한 동향을 매우 구체적이고 또 가장 최근의 동향까지 소개해 주신 점이 크게 도움이 되는 것 같습니다. 평소에도 김소정 박사님 글을 제가 보면서 많이 공부를 하고 있었는데 특히 오늘 지적해 주신 이 북한의 불법적인 수익 창출이 북한의 핵 개발, WMD 개발에 전용되는 부분에 대한 대응의 중요성을 언급해 주신 부분이 되게 중요한 것 같습니다. 특히 또 앞서서 이 모토히로 교수께서도 언급을 해주셨지만 이 도메인 간의 연결이 되게 중요한 것 같습니다. 특히 사이버 같은 경우는 이 연결성, 결국 의존성, 여기서 만들어지는 이 취약성 때문에 우리가 국가 간의 협력이 필요한 것 같습니다. 또 최근에는 이 공급망에 가는 부분까지도 논의가 확장이 되는데 결국 이게 반도체 문제도 그렇지만 공급망에 대한 그 국가 간의 연대 또는 협력의 가능성이 또 협력의 필요성이 부각이 되는 것 같습니다. 다만 이제 여기서 우려되는 부분이 이러한 사이버 협력이 기존의 전통적인 안보에서 있었던 진영 간의 대결과 유사하게 이루어진다는 부분입니다. 한국 같은 경우는 이미 인태 전략을 추진하면서 다소 다른 국가들과 주변 국가들과 다른 접근법을 보인 부분도 있기도 합니다. 그런 점에서 이제 한미일 협력에 대해서 강조된 부분이 우리가 어떻게 추진할 수 있을까라는 그러한 질문을 하지 않을 수가 없는 부분이 있고요. 물론 이제 한미 간에는 최근 굉장히 많은 성과도 있었습니다. 한미 사이버안보 프레임워크를 불과 만들어낸 지 1년이 되지 않아서 사실 꽤 큰 성과를 보이고 있다라는 부분이 있습니다. 하지만 이 부분도 결국은 이 진영 간의 대결에서 이루어지는 우려점이 있기 때문에 그런 점에서 중견 국가인 한국이 어떻게 해야 되는가라는 의문을 계속 주는 것 같습니다. 특히 이제 러시아와 북한의 협력이 최근 주목을 받고 있습니다. 사실 우크라이나 전쟁이 시작될 때만 하더라도 지구 반대편의 문제를 우리가 간과한 부분이 있는데 마치 이게 풍선 효과와 같이 그 부분에 있어서의 위협이 지구 반대편인 한반도에도 파급이 되고 있습니다. 작년부터 계속 우려는 나왔습니다. 북러 간의 협력 가능성이 제기가 됐는데 올해 들어서 그러한 동향이 끊임없이 노출이 됐고 또 최근에는 북한이 정찰 위성을 쏘는 데 있어서 러시아 협력 가능성이 제기가 됐습니다. 특히 이제 푸틴과 김정은의 정상회담에서 해당 부분을 전혀 부인하지 않았고 오히려 당당하게 이야기하는 모습 속에서 우려가 있습니다. 특히 사이버와 관련해서는 러시아를 기반을 두고 북한이 본인들이 탈취한 불법적인 사이버 머니를 현금화하는 과정이 있다고 추정이 되고 있고 매우 중요한 기반의 역할을 지원의 역할을 러시아가 해주고 있다라는 우려가 나오고 있습니다. 근데 문제는 이런 대북 제재의 빈틈이 발생하는데 앞서 말씀드린 사이버에서의 진영 간 대결이 이러한 대북 제재의 빈틈을 막는데 도움이 될 것인지 아니면 오히려 도움이 안 될 것인지 이런 부분도 고민하지 않을 수 없습니다. 특히 2019년 이후에 러시아와 중국은 대북 제재와 관련해서 이제 협력을 하지 않고 있습니다. 이러한 가운데 사이버 분야에서의 협력이 이러한 대결 구도에 어떤 영향을 줄 것인지 의문이 가는 건데요. 그래서 사실 좀 어려운 부분이긴 하지만 이런 점들을 고려해서 세 가지 질문을 드리고자 하고 또 제가 배움을 받고자 합니다. 첫 번째는 이러한 사이버에서의 진영 대결에서 한국은 어떠한 방향성을 가지고 협력의 외연을 확장해야 하는가라는 질문입니다. 특히 이제 한미일 협력을 추진함에 있어서 어떤 영역 또 어떤 방법에서의 착수를 할 수 있을지 그런 대안이 궁금합니다. 두 번째는 뭐 한미일까지는 가지 않더라도 지금 진행하고 있는 한미의 사이버 협력을 지속 가능한 협력으로 발전시키기 위해서 한국은 그리고 미국은 앞으로 어떤 노력을 해야 하는지 궁금합니다. 그리고 마지막으로 세 번째는 발표하신 내용들 중에서 이 다양한 영역에 대한 부분들이 언급이 있었는데요. 뭐 기반 체계가 될 수도 있고 경제가 될 수도 있고 국방이 될 수도 있는데 우리가 이런 사이버 방어를 하는 데 있어서 어디에 우선순위를 둬야 하는지 물론 정답이 없을 수 있지만 그 부분에 대한 궁금증이 있고요. 특히 또 앞에 윤민우 교수님께서도 언급을 해주셨는데 아니면 우리가 이런 물리적인 영역이 아닌 선거에 대한 개입이라든지 이런 심리전이라든지 이런 비물리적인 방어에도 어떻게 대응을 해야 하는가 우선순위를 정함에 있어서 이러한 고민을 좀 함께 나누고 싶습니다.
감사합니다. Thank you, Dr. Park Yong-han. And then last, of course, not least, and Dr. Cha Jeong-mi from National Assembly Future Institute. Please.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot from the Professor Yoon's article. I think that this is very kind of new topics for the cybersecurity because I reviewed some literature on the cyber cognitive warfare. I think I found very little on this topic. So I think cyber cognitive warfare is very new topics for the cybersecurity issues. But I think that probably the cognitive warfare issues is very traditionally very long topic on the kind of like a battlefield. So I think first of all, I think we should focus on the kind of cognitive warfare because cognitive warfare with new space and new technologies like cyberspace and cyber technologies. So cyber cognitive warfare should First, I think cyber cognitive warfare should focus on analyzing the kind of the nature of cognitive warfare. I think, for example, I think China has kind of a long history about like cognitive warfare because traditionally, it's a lot of people, a lot of scholars knows already about like Sun Tzu's art of war. The traditional concept of Chinese cognitive warfare is kind of on winning the war without fighting. This is kind of concept of Chinese traditional cognitive warfare. And this currently, Chinese PLA has adopted this kind of like cognitive warfare because they adopted the kind of a doctrine about like 3 wars, 3 battlefields, and kind of a sanjan. So they included kind of propaganda, like public warfare, public opinion warfare. And the second one is like psychological warfare. And the third one is the kind of like, law warfare. This is kind of like a new kind of cognitive warfare of Chinese PLA. But I think, the target of the Chinese PLA's doctrine is the winning the information warfare. But the Chinese concept of the information warfare includes the 3 domains, physical domains, and information domain, and finally the cognitive domains. But PLA has argued that cognitive domain is ultimate domain for the winning the information world. So I think PLA has modernized kind of like capacity for cyber cognitive warfare recently. So I think that I think that we have to focus on kind of nature of cognitive warfare with the cyberspace and with the cyber technology. And second one is that mostly Professor Yoon's paper covered kind of a human dimension of cyber cognitive warfare, but I think that cyber cognitive warfare has two dimensions. First dimension is the human dimension, and human dimension is that like kind of in cyberspace with the cyber technology, influencing and targeting human cognition. So recently we saw a lot of kind of cyber cognitive warfare targeting the human cognition, kind of like propaganda or kind of misinformation operation or cyber hacking. Those kind of things that directly influencing the human cognition. But like in the long term or mid term, I think that the most important thing is that like machine dimension. Second dimension is machine dimension because like the warfare, future warfare will be more autonomous and AI-based decision-making process. In the kind of AI-based future warfare, we need to focus on kind of like second dimension. The like machine dimension because a lot of kind of AI-based decision-making, AI-based warfare includes a lot of like cyber hacking or data manipulation or kind of like intercepting the data processing to influence or hacking the kind of like machine learning or machine decision making. So actually, in the future, I think AI warfare needs a lot of kind of like deterrence, a lot of kind of like operational tactics to defend those kind of like cyber cognitive warfare, targeting and influencing those kind of machine dimensions. So I think in the future, I think cyber cognitive warfare should encompass but not only the human dimension, but also like machine dimension. So I think we need more systemic and kind of like a very structured approach to the cyber cognitive warfare with like a short-term and long-term dimension. And then I have the two question for the Professor Yoon. You mentioned about like a cyber cognitive warfare, but like you selected some cases, China and North Korea, but you didn't really explain what technologies China and North Korea uses and how these work, how this impacts on the target states. You mentioned that South Korea and Japan, but so if you have like detailed kind of case studies about those kind of like what technology used or how this works and how this impacts on the kind of target state's cognition. So if you have detailed information, please give us kind of like a case studies. And the second question is that about like South Korean strategy, because South Korea is kind of falling behind in confronting national security challenges at the intersection of technology and cognition. So to catch up or to address this emerging threat, what do you think are the most important tasks that South Korea has to develop and implement in order to deal with this kind of cyber cognitive warfare? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cha. And before we are going to give time to respond to these excellent questions, and if I may, I will ask each one of you to my own question, just one, each of you. And first about Professor Tsuchiya, and you're talking about the South Korea, Japan, and United States trilateral cooperation. And very lately, last week, the national security advisors and the counterparts, and they met and they introduced the cooperation in the cyber area. But still, it seems to me that the three countries have slightly different emphasis. South Korea is definitely talking about the North Korea. South Korea haven't talked about the China officially, but Japan and United States, it seems to me the main targets is of course China. So how to have a little bit differences among the three countries can be adjust and they have a same goal. And that's my question to you. And to the Dr. Kim So-jung, and you, of course, didn't mention about China. Basically, of course, the title is about the North Korea, but still, as I already mentioned, that South Korea, we haven't mentioned about China. But China is a very serious threat in this field, especially so-called disinformation. And there's many countries, they are already talking about the possibility of the intervene the elections next years. And so what's the South Korean's position at this moment, or the perception about the China's threat from the China? And to the Professor Yoon and Minwoo, and you didn't mention about, you just briefly mentioning about the possibility of this upcoming, our general election next April by North Korea. And North Korea has been very notorious for past several decades. They are more or less intervene the South Korean election, general election, and the presidential election. But lately, they are a little bit different. And at the time, North Korea usually have some provocation. But nowadays, that is cognitive warfare. So I see there's some different trend lately. So what do you think about that? And how North Korea get intervene this upcoming general election? Thank you. And
what means cyber 안전보장 national security? So we say, so we want to defend our systems, we have to defend our properties until now. But, so maybe we are engaged in cross-domain warfare in the future, as we are seeing in Ukraine, as we are seeing in Gaza. So many people, non-state actors too, are involved in cyber warfare these days. But can we really defend our systems, our nation, our pride of a country? So maybe they are trying to make us lose our faces. So it's kind of part of the cognitive warfare. It might happen in the future. So everything can be targeted. So everything we have to defend. That's a very difficult thing. And so the third question is what kind of cooperation we are expecting from Republic of Korea. So first one is the sharing of the threat groups information. So we are talking about APT-43, Lazarus, or Fancy Bear, Koji Bear, and many cyber actors in cyberspace. But we want to identify who are there, who are attacking us, who are attacking you. So if we combine, so we compare those information intelligence, we might have a better picture of the cyberspace. And the second one is we want to share the understanding of threat methods. What kind of measures are used to attack you, steal something, or affect something? So, of course, cognitive warfare is another aspect for us. So, I'm going to Taipei, Taiwan next month because they are having the presidential election in Taiwan. So there might be a very big influence from China. So that kind of thing might come to Japan too, and South Korea too. So what kind of methods they use, we want to share. And the third one is we want to launch coordinated action if possible. So we want to stop the malicious actors, how we can do together. So one country's action is not enough. We want to coordinate such kind of thing. And so Professor Park's, Dr. Park's final question. Oh, where's my memo? So it's the trilateral cooperation. So yeah, it's impossible to say. So we have anonymous enemies. And so we want to identify, we want to do attribution, but we still don't know who will be the first attacker to us. But we want to have, US has a higher capability, I feel. So if they share information and we can share information, so we will have a better picture. So that's the important thing. So the one country's efforts is not enough, and we need the cooperation from Microsoft, Google, and so other cybersecurity companies. So we need a team efforts. So cybersecurity is always said that a team sports. What kind of good sports, good team we can organize? So that's the important thing. So we fought in baseball, but it's not good. So in the cyberspace, South Korea and Japan must make a coordinated team. So that's the important thing. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. In that sense, I'm very glad that finally South Korea and Japan can normalize the relationship. Okay. All right, next, Dr. Kim.
Thank you so much. And actually, Dr. Park asked a lot of big and difficult questions. And also, the Professor Yu raised the issues that how we see our threat, how we can evaluate, how we can make our threat as a strategic goal to respond. That is really, really big discussions, actually. So in Korean cases, the cybersecurity efforts are usually done by really practitioners, not from the social science perspectives, not by the policymakers in a higher level or strategic levels. They were usually dealt by the practitioners' perspectives. So more than 20 years or 30 years, they just wanted to defend our networks and recover if we have any accidents or impacts from certain cyber incidences. So those kind of concept is now conflicting how we can understand, how we can make our strategy in a more understandable way all around the world. So those kind of questions you raised it before, and the Professor Yu raised it was the starting point, how we can make our national cybersecurity as a more understandable way. So, but already we have our national cybersecurity strategy in 2019. Actually, it was first drafted in 2017, and it took 18 more months to coordinate it between governments. And finally, when it published it, I actually shocked. I personally involved in the drafting the National Cybersecurity Strategy in 2017, and the 2019 version has no mentioning about the DPRK at all as our threat. Surprisingly. It deleted actually. The first draft has that one, but the published one has no mentioning about the DPRK. And then we only talked about we have various cyber attacks from outside, not specifically designating or naming a country or some other countries. So definitely China cannot be there too. So until now, we had no chances to publicly say that we are suffering from cyber attacks from China yet. We never said that before, but definitely we have attacks from the China. So those kind of things should be dealt with very strategic thinking. So there can be my general answers on all of the questions which I got for it, but more specifically, maybe I can also say that the U.S. and the RK governments are thinking that their efforts, like more than 2 years after the 2020 summit, we established a working group, cyber working group, to deal with the IT personnel from the North Korea and also the DPRK's cryptocurrency theft. And they gathered like more than 4 or 5 times here in DC, and they sanctioned a lot of mixers or the service providers and the persons and the entities and even the universities to have raising the skilled personnel. So those kind of activities were the most important and most practical way to cooperate each other. So those kind of things also can expand with the Japan, because in Japan there's more defectors or the North Korean nationalities in living in there, right? So maybe they were gonna have some more information in human side. So there can be another options for us to, and also the regarding the competition among these Western countries and the other parts. So in norm settings or the understanding or applications of implementations of the international laws and the sanctions that way, it is not possible to have the good answers for how we cannot deter from those kind of activities. But still, we are agreed that we were gonna protect our values, and all the values will be the basic starting point to setting the norm building processes. So they can be not a good answers, but not just as a defender, but as a contributors. Then we were gonna have more roles in the world, I guess. And what can be our sustainable cooperations, like an expanding more pragmatic way, that can be a small step, but maybe change a little bit more in the later. And then what can be our priority? No, everything is priority. So we are not sure how we can understand the cybersecurity issues in a traditional way, or the traditional activities, all the traditional activities and security issues can be converted into the cyberspace ways. We are not agreed in that concept itself. So maybe that understanding and then discussions about how we see the cybersecurity issues as one of the national security issues, or the basic foundational things as the national security issues. Those kind of conversations, discussions also will be needed. And then finally, still about the attributions or some other areas among countries for the cooperations, we need some kind of protocols to verify the credibilities and how we can be sure what has been done and what has not been done, and how we can understand their intentions. The intentions cannot be coded. The intentions cannot be understood in a visible way. So maybe we need those kind of corporate way in a coordinated actions. And then lastly, I would like to make an example as for further cooperations in R&D maybe. So in 21, we developed, when I was in the National Security Research Institution, before I moved into the Institute, the National Security Strategy, we developed our methodology to how we can judge, evaluate the impact from a certain cyber incidences. So if we have higher impact, then our proportional response will gonna be the higher. But if we have little impact, then the response should be under not that serious. So those kind of things, those kind of common criteria can be developed by among the three countries and among our like-minded countries. Then those kind of things also can be steps for coordinated cooperations. So I stop here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kim So-jung. And the next, Professor Yoon Min-woo, you have 7 minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll keep the time. Because two questioners, they jointly focus on the techniques, so I will address the answer altogether. Basically, based on my research for a year, I can now specify the different techniques between North Korea and China, and then there's also difference, the Russians. So these countries, and Russians and Chinese and North Korea and also US, and they use different techniques, different procedures, and different strategic goals when they are doing this cognitive operation. So I cannot discuss further detail because it's a short time and it's also very open. But I will address this. During the Second World War, when we bombing certain targets, and we just packed these bombs and loaded an airplane and then goes there and just poured bombs, because at the time we had no technology to pinpoint the targets. But now we don't use that. We just pinpoint strike on the target, because we know all this information and guidances and satellite and all this. cognitive warfare or psychological warfare, whatever you name it, it's just same. In the past, we don't specify targets, just certain general populations. We go there and we just pull the beater, or we just, broadcasting radios and televisions. But now we have technologies, AIs and all these, etc. We can specifically pinpoint certain target, the people's, the individual life stories, their anguishes, their frustration, and their psychological tendencies. So that's why these days, this individual information on individual is critical. So in internet, we can collect a lot of information on certain individuals through SNS or other channels. So we AI and quantum computing or all these technologies, we can pinpoint what are the weaknesses of a certain individual or certain group of individuals. So now cognitive warfare is more sophisticated and pinpoint strike. So it is quite effective. So one of the methods mostly they use is active measures. Basically, they try to drive wedge between different groups of populations. And China boosting, in the Black Lives Matter case, and they are supporting white supporters, and also these black supporters at the same time. When they operating against the Czech Republic, China also boosted both groups of political the groups, pro European Union, anti-European Union at the same time. So there are a number of methods. So I have 3 minutes, and I will summarize all this. So the techniques can be used strategic level, operational art level, and tactical level all together. Strategic levels and history is used. It's a narrative and storytellings, and basically manipulate histories from the past, and then make a deja vu at present. So like Fukushima, this nuclear water case, and this current issue can be distorted and to make a public belief we are still living in the Japanese colonial period. This is a manipulation of history. So in the strategic level, history is shreddedly exploited to analyze or understand a current event. The operational art level, and there's the united front strategy or dividing groups, and then different isolated groups, put them together and pinpoint a common enemy. So basically they're gaslighting the gender issues, environmental issues, climate issues, all these different issues all together. Enemy's enemy is my friend principles. And the tactical level, all these active measures and driving wedges, one of the technical measures is like this, make a fake news or disinformation and make a public exposure, and through SNS, all this. This procedure is called anchoring bias. So implanting bias or fake news into the public's minds. Then they use all this, source rounding, using the legitimate medias and government, government ranking officials' speeches. So wrap it up. So time's up. So just we can identify all these techniques. So that is possible, and all these further details, you're welcome to discuss after this session. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Professor Minwoo. I feel really sorry about the audience, and I couldn't give a chance to ask the questions. And also, I feel sorry because we don't have any break time, so you don't have a time to ask personally to this participant. But by the way, this is the end of session 3, and please join me to thank you for all the participants in session 3 with a round of applause. Thank you.